The Stoic Mindset Revolution. 9 ways to build unshakable inner strength. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to possess an almost supernatural ability to remain calm, confident and centered, no matter what chaos erupts around them? While most of us are drowning in stress, anxiety, and emotional reactivity, these individuals navigate life's storms with the grace of ancient philosophers. Today, I'm going to reveal 9 transformative principles that will revolutionize your mindset and forge the kind of unshakable inner strength that makes you magnetic, resilient, and truly free. These aren't modern self-help concepts. They're battle-tested strategies from the greatest minds in human history. Refined through over 2 millennia of practical application, the Stoics understood something that we've largely forgotten in our modern world. External circumstances don't determine your experience of life. Your mindset does. Your reactions do. Your ability to maintain inner equilibrium regardless of outer chaos. That's where true power lies. But let me tell you something that might surprise you. The strongest people aren't those who never face adversity. They're those who have learned to transform every challenge into fuel for their growth, every setback into a setup for a comeback, every wound into wisdom. Before we dive into these 9 principles, I want to share a story that perfectly illustrates this concept. There was once a samurai who lost everything: his family, his status, his fortune. Instead of being destroyed by these losses, he used them as a forge to reshape his character. He emerged not bitter but better, not broken but unbreakable. He understood that his true strength didn't come from what he possessed, but from what he could never lose: his mindset, his values, his inner fortress. That's what you're going to build today. An inner fortress so strong that nothing external can ever truly defeat you. If this resonates with you, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Now let's transform your mental blueprint forever. Principle 1, the fortress of self-reliance, your opinion of yourself. What matters most. The first principle that separates the mentally strong from the emotionally fragile is this: they've learned to be their own source of validation, their own cheerleader, their own best friend. They don't outsource their self-worth to the fluctuating opinions of others. Think about this. How much of your daily emotional experience is determined by what other people think, say, or do? Every criticism that stings, every approval that lifts you up, every rejection that crushes you, all of these give away your power to external forces completely outside your control. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the ancient world, wrote in his private journal, how much trouble he avoids who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does. He understood that seeking validation from others is like trying to build a house on shifting sand. The mentally strong have learned to construct their self-image from the inside out. They know their values, they live by their principles, and they measure themselves against their own standards of excellence, not the ever-changing whims of public opinion. This doesn't mean they're arrogant or closed to feedback. It means they've developed what psychologists call internal locus of control, the understanding that their worth isn't determined by external circumstances or other people's reactions. Practice this. Start each day by writing down 3 things you accomplished yesterday that align with your values, regardless of whether anyone noticed or praised you for them. Over time, this builds an unshakable foundation of self-respect that no criticism can demolish. Principle 2, the alchemy of adversity. Transform obstacles into opportunities. Here's a radical idea that will change your life. Every obstacle you face is actually a gift in disguise. Not because it feels good, it doesn't, but because it contains within it the exact medicine your character needs to grow stronger. The Stoics had a phrase: "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This isn't positive thinking, it's strategic thinking. It's understanding that adversity is life's curriculum for developing virtues you can't learn any other way. Lost your job? That's an opportunity to discover skills you never knew you had, to explore paths you were too comfortable to consider before. Relationship ended? That's a chance to develop a deeper relationship with yourself, to learn what you truly need in a partner. The mentally strong have learned to ask a different question when facing challenges. Instead of "Why is this happening to me?" they ask, "How can this make me stronger, wiser, or more compassionate?" This shift in perspective is like alchemy. It transforms the lead of suffering into the gold of wisdom. But it requires practice, patience, and a willingness to see every setback as a setup for something better. James Stockdale, who spent 7 years as a prisoner of war, later said that his imprisonment was the most formative experience of his life, not because it was pleasant, but because it forged within him an unbreakable spirit that served him for decades afterward. Your current challenges aren't punishments. They're your personal training program for developing the exact strengths you'll need for your future success. Principle 3, the power of perspective. Zoom out to calm down. When you're in the middle of a crisis, everything feels enormous, urgent, and catastrophic. But the mentally strong have learned to step back and view their problems from a broader perspective. What the Stoics called the view from above. Imagine your current stress from the perspective of a year from now. Will it matter? What about 5 years, 10 years? This isn't about minimizing real problems, but about putting them in proper proportion so you can respond with wisdom rather than panic. Marcus Aurelius regularly practiced this exercise. Even as emperor dealing with wars and plagues, he would imagine his problems from the perspective of the cosmos, vast, eternal, indifferent to human drama. This didn't make him cold, it made him calm. The next time you feel overwhelmed, try this. Imagine zooming out from your immediate situation like a camera pulling back. First from the room you're in, then the building, the city, the country, the planet, the solar system. From that cosmic perspective, how significant is your current worry? This practice doesn't solve problems, but it gives you the emotional space to approach them strategically rather than reactively. It transforms anxiety into action, panic into planning. Remember, you are not your problems. You are the consciousness observing and responding to your problems. That consciousness is infinite, eternal, and unbreakable. Principle 4. The discipline of desire. Want what you have, not what you lack. One of the greatest sources of human suffering is the gap between what we have and what we want. The mentally strong have learned to close this gap, not by getting everything they want, but by wanting what they have. This doesn't mean settling for mediocrity or giving up on goals. It means finding contentment in the present while working toward the future. It's the difference between gratitude and greed, between appreciation and acquisition. Seneca, one of the wealthiest men in Rome, practiced voluntary poverty regularly. He would spend days eating simple food, wearing plain clothes, sleeping on the floor, not as punishment, but as training, to prove to himself that his happiness didn't depend on external luxuries. The discipline of desire means training yourself to find richness in simplicity, abundance in what others might consider ordinary. It's discovering that the most profound joys often come not from having more, but from needing less. Practice this radical exercise for 1 week. Each morning, write down everything you already have that you once desperately wanted. Your home, your health, your relationships, your abilities. You'll be amazed how rich you already are when you truly pay attention. This isn't about becoming passive or unambitious. It's about operating from a foundation of gratitude rather than scarcity, abundance rather than lack. When you feel complete within yourself, your external actions come from inspiration, not desperation. Principle 5. The fortress of the present moment. Master your attention. Your attention is your most precious resource. Where you place it determines the quality of your experience. Yet most people let their minds wander like untrained animals, jumping between regrets about the past and anxieties about the future. The mentally strong have learned to anchor their attention in the only place where life actually happens, the present moment. Not through spiritual bypassing or positive thinking, but through the practical understanding that this moment is the only one where you have any real power. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present, not because the past and future don't matter, but because they only matter to the extent that they inform your present actions. Worrying about tomorrow doesn't prepare you for tomorrow. It just ruins today." This principle requires training, like building a muscle. Start with 5 minutes a day of focused attention on your breath, your body, or your immediate environment. When your mind wanders, and it will, gently bring it back without judgment. Over time, you'll develop what the Stoics called prososh, continuous attention to the present moment. This isn't meditation as escape from reality. It's meditation as deeper engagement with reality. The payoff is enormous. When you're fully present, you make better decisions, enjoy experiences more deeply, and respond to challenges with clarity rather than reactivity. You become unshakable because you're rooted in the only moment that exists. Principle 6. The virtue of voluntary discomfort. Strengthen through struggle. Modern life tries to eliminate all discomfort, but the mentally strong understand that comfort is not the goal, growth is. They voluntarily expose themselves to manageable discomforts to build resilience for when real hardships inevitably arise. This principle isn't about masochism or unnecessary suffering. It's about building what Nassim Taleb calls anti-fragility, the ability to not just survive stress, but to grow stronger because of it. Take cold showers. Fast occasionally, exercise until you're tired. Have difficult conversations you've been avoiding. Each voluntary discomfort is a deposit in your resilience bank account, preparing you for involuntary challenges that will test your character. Seneca practiced this by periodically living as if he'd lost everything. He'd eat simple food, wear basic clothes, sleep without luxury. His goal wasn't to punish himself, but to prove that his happiness wasn't dependent on external circumstances. The military understands this principle. They put soldiers through harsh training not to be cruel, but to prepare them for real combat. Life will test you whether you're prepared or not. Voluntary discomfort ensures you're ready. Start small. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Wake up 15 minutes earlier. Say no to something you want but don't need. Each small victory builds the confidence that you can handle bigger challenges. Principle 7. The practice of negative visualization. Appreciate. Through anticipation. This might be the most counterintuitive principle, but it's incredibly powerful. Regularly imagine losing everything you value. Not to be pessimistic, but to deepen your appreciation for what you have while you have it. The Stoics called this premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. By mentally rehearsing loss, they discovered two profound benefits. They appreciated their blessings more deeply, and they prepared themselves emotionally for life's inevitable changes. Imagine losing your job, your health, your relationships, not to attract these outcomes, but to realize how precious they are in the present. This practice transforms taking things for granted into profound gratitude. It also builds emotional resilience. When you've already mentally processed potential losses, you're less devastated if they actually occur. You've already done part of the grief work in advance, allowing you to recover and adapt more quickly. Practice this weekly. Spend 10 minutes imagining the loss of something you value. Notice how this makes you appreciate it more when you return to reality. Notice how it reduces the anxiety that comes from desperately clinging to what's temporary. This isn't morbid thinking. It's realistic preparation for an uncertain world. The people who handle loss best are often those who never took their gains for granted in the first place. Principle 8. The strength of selective indifference. Choose your battles wisely. The mentally strong have learned something that weak people never grasp. You don't have to have an opinion about everything, react to every provocation, or fight every battle. True strength often lies in the wisdom of selective engagement. This doesn't mean becoming apathetic or disengaged. It means developing the discernment to distinguish between what deserves your emotional energy and what doesn't. It's about choosing your responses rather than being controlled by your reactions. Epictetus taught that we suffer not from events themselves, but from our judgments about events. By learning to withhold judgment from things that don't truly matter, we conserve our emotional resources for things that do. Ask yourself, will this matter in a year, 5 years, on my deathbed? If the answer is no, practice the profound strength of not caring. This isn't indifference born of weakness, but indifference born of wisdom. The goal isn't to become emotionally numb, but to become emotionally strategic. Save your passion for your deepest values, your strongest relationships, your most important goals. Everything else can be met with calm detachment. This selective indifference becomes a superpower in our age of artificial outrage and manufactured controversies. While others exhaust themselves reacting to every stimulus, you maintain your center, your focus, your peace. Principle 9. The legacy lens. Live for something greater than yourself. The final principle ties all the others together. The mentally strong understand that true fulfillment comes not from what they can get from life, but from what they can give to life. They live for something greater than their immediate comfort or pleasure. This doesn't require grand gestures or world-changing achievements. It simply means approaching each day with the question, how can I make things a little better than I found them? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What injures the hive injures the bee." He understood that individual well-being is inseparable from collective well-being. The strongest people are those who find meaning in service, contribution, and legacy. This perspective provides unshakable motivation because it connects your daily actions to your deepest values. When you're living for something greater than yourself, temporary setbacks become mere detours on a longer journey. Think about the impact you want to have on others. What would you want people to say about how you lived? What problems do you want to help solve? What beauty do you want to create or preserve? Living with legacy consciousness doesn't mean ignoring your own needs, but it means placing those needs within a larger context of purpose and meaning. It transforms life from a series of random experiences into a coherent story of growth and contribution. Conclusion: the unshakable. These 9 principles aren't just concepts to understand intellectually, they're practices to embody daily. Each one is a building block in the construction of your inner fortress, your unshakable core that no external storm can topple. The journey from mental fragility to mental strength isn't quick or easy. It requires consistent practice, honest self-reflection, and the courage to face your deepest fears and weaknesses. But the payoff is extraordinary. A life of genuine confidence, deep peace, and meaningful impact. Remember, you already have everything you need to begin this transformation. The principles are simple, even if the practice is challenging. Start with one principle that resonates most strongly with you. Master it before moving to the next. The Stoics believed that philosophy wasn't an academic exercise, but a way of life. These principles only work if you work them. Knowledge without application is just entertainment. Wisdom is knowledge put into practice. Your unshakable inner strength is not a destination you arrive at, but a muscle you develop through daily exercise. Each challenge you face with these principles becomes proof of your growing resilience. Each moment of calm in the storm demonstrates your expanding wisdom. The world needs people who can think clearly under pressure, act with integrity under scrutiny, and maintain hope in the face of uncertainty. By developing your own unshakable inner strength, you become not just mentally stronger yourself, but a source of strength for everyone around you. Your transformation begins now with your next choice, your next response, your next opportunity to apply these timeless principles to your modern life. The unshakable you is not some future version of yourself, it's who you become the moment you decide to stop being shaken by what you cannot control and start building strength from what you can. If this content has added value to your life, share it with someone who needs to hear these truths. And remember, the strongest people are not those who never face storms, but those who learn to dance in the rain. Your journey to unshakable inner strength starts now.